This is your video for stretching and shrinking 1.2, scaling up and down. Our learning targets for this video are to describe what similar figures have that are the same and different, to compare the parts of shapes using corresponding sides and corresponding angles, and to use correct notation when listing or comparing the corresponding sides and angles. So our first question is, what does it mean when figures are similar? When we talk about something being similar in math, we are using a different understanding other than saying that you might have a similar personality to your sister or your friend, or you might have a similar bike, or you might have similar clothes. When we use generic things like that in everyday language, we often have a wide variety of things that could be describing what is similar, or a wide variety of things that we may be thinking about of how to interpret that word. In math, we have to be much more specific when talking about similar shapes or similar figures. We are going to start fairly basic for this first video, and we will add to our list of what it means when figures are similar as far as what would be the same and what would be different. For this first one, we are going to leave it as that they need to be the same shape or the same figure. And what's going to be different is the size. And that size can be larger, or that size can be smaller. But it's going to look like the exact same thing. So when we are studying similar figures, we often talk about and compare their sides and their angles. And in order to do that correctly, we use the terms corresponding sides and corresponding angles. And in every pair of similar figures or shapes that we are talking about, each side of, say, figure 1 is going to match up to a side on figure 2. And every side that a figure has is going to have a side to match up with on an alternate figure. And the same goes for angles. So a fairly basic definition to describe what corresponding sides and angles are, as the fact that they are matching pieces or parts of figures from one image to another. Now that definition could be a lot more detailed, but I think it would be easier to be able to see an example versus just write out a super lengthy definition. So we're going to use these two triangles, figure 1 and figure 2, and we are going to match up and list the corresponding sides and the corresponding angles. And when we do this, we're also going to be working on learning target number 3 from the top of the page, where we are going to work on correct notation. So the first thing that I'm going to do is highlight the sides and the angles that go together. So here I have side AC. It's on the left side of my shape, and figure 1 and figure 2 are sitting, or they have the same orientation, which what I mean by that is, if you look, this appears to be a right triangle, and that right angle is in the lower left-hand corner. So these triangles are sitting the same way. So side AC then matches up on figure 2 to side XZ. Then the bottom of my triangle, I have CB, which goes to the bottom of figure 2, which would be ZY. And then I have my third side left over, which leaves me with AB matching up to XY. And it may not be a bad idea to have some colors handy or some highlighters handy for in classwork so that you can do the same thing, especially as our images or our shapes become more complicated. So then we have to go and we have to make our list of corresponding sides. So I start with figure 1, and I'm going to start with AC. And the most important part of the notation is that top line, because that top line means line, or it means line segment, which then transfers to side of an image. And AC goes to, and you can just use the word to side, there's that line, X, Z. And because I have a triangle, which has 3 sides, I need to make sure that I have 3 sets of corresponding sides. So I've done my pink, now I'm going to go to my green. I have CB, and I got to make sure it's side. That's going to correspond to side ZY. Then my last one, I have AB. That corresponds to XY. And if you notice in my list, I always went from figure 1 to figure 2. You want to make sure that you are consistent in that way. Then our angles. I have this top angle here, which is going to correspond to my top angle on figure 2. I have this one that I originally drew, my right angle, which appears to be my right angle in figure 2. And then I have the third one left over down here in the corner, angle B matching up to angle Y. Now when we do our notation, there are different ways to write this. First of all, you want to make sure that you are using the symbol for angle. You have the option of labeling an angle by just its letter, so I could do angle A, and that's going to refer to this red one. Or angle A is equal to, or is the exact same thing as saying CAB. So that would be the same thing as angle CAB. So you can call an angle either by its three-letter name or by the letter that's in the very middle. To make this go a little bit shorter, I'm going to just refer to these angles by their one letter. So that was just an example of how to list angles differently. But again, because it's a triangle and a triangle has 3 angles, I should have 3 sets of corresponding angles. I'm going to start with my red angles. So I have angle A goes to angle X. I'm going to go to my dark blue, angle C goes to angle Z, and the light blue, angle B, goes to angle Y. And again, making sure the notation there that you are using that angle sign. Let's go to our next page. How do you use mathematical notation to say 2 figures are similar? So we're going to use the shapes from the front side of the page where we have triangle ABC and triangle XYZ. So we would start by using our notation for triangle, triangle ABC, and then we have triangle XYZ. And the notation for similar is kind of that squiggly line. That little line means similar. You do not want to use the equal sign because they are not equal. Not equal. If they were equal, They would have to be the same size. And clearly looking at figure 1 and 2, you can tell that they are not the same size. So be extremely careful with using the math notation. This last question, what is unique about the sides of corresponding figures? I just want you to X that out for right now. I want to save that question until we do a little bit more investigation. So come to class with any questions that you might have and be prepared to be able to use these 3 learning targets, knowing that as of right now, similar means same shape and figure but a different size, and that you can match up the sides and the angles as well as use correct notation.